right, YouTubes. Got my coffee going. That's my son out there surfing. And his buddy. Oh, you should go for this one. Got a little right peeler right there. Look at that. There he goes. Yeah, wipe out. Oh, look at this morning. It's all glassy and nice. So I'm gonna go work on that Lennox 3-head mini split. Thought I'd bring you guys down here to start the morning off. Look at that. Lennox 3-head, got the filters pulled. You can see the blower wheels are starting to get good and dirty. Just starting with the basics, I'm going to recover the charge out. It says it holds 10 pounds. We'll see how much gas we pull out. It's the other head that also in this room has this dehumidifier that's just cranking heat out. So we'll see who's the best. Then we got this is the other third little guy right here. Lennox. Let's go up to the condensing unit. All right, here's the condensing unit. This is my life story. Funky monkey. Because it sits up in a warehouse, they ducted the discharge out. So it goes outside, and they're pulling air from inside this warehouse. They got 3 heads hooked up. And yeah, look at this. That's terrible. 3 heads hooked up. That's 1. And then 2, and then 3. And I measured the line set, and it's really close to the 125 foot we get here before we have to add refrigerant. Where did I see that at? Right here. Pre-charge pipe length 125. We're really close. And those are all 3/8, two 3/8 liquid lines, and 2 quarters and a 3/8. Quarter inch. That one's going to be 3/8. Total charge is 162.3 ounces, which comes out to right around 10 pounds. So, what I like to do on these is take the ice machine approach. The ice machine approach. Where you cover the charge out and weigh it. Get an empty cylinder. I got my scale. I want to weigh the charge out of that thing just to get a base to see where we're at. I'm digging the H.V.A.C Nerd recovery machine. It's a little bit heavier than the field piece. So if you're looking for lightweight, the Mr. 45 is probably going to be your friend. But man, I got to give H.V.A.C credit. This thing's stout, dude. It's got double condensers where the field piece only has 1 condenser. So it's a good recovery machine. They're expensive. Nerd. Well, let's get it going. All right, so I got my recovery going. You can already see where this is heading. I'm already 9 pounds in and got a long way to go. So this unit here is going to end up being overcharged. You only need per foot 0.16 of an ounce. A quarter inch of 0.32 per foot. That's in ounces. That's in ounces, not pounds. So when you're adding charge to these systems, it's not going to be a lot. You're not adding like pounds of gas, you know. It's so for each additional foot, it's 0.16 of an ounce per additional foot. Hope that makes sense. Okay, while it's in recovery mode, I pulled back the insulation and found all kinds of little friends here. Flare connectors. You can tell this is all oily. This one looks oily. See how it's beaded up on there? So after I get it recovered, see how much gas we pull out, then we can, I got the cap for this one right here. Then we could, we'll nitrogenize it and pressure test with soap bubbles on everything. See how we make out. That's nothing but oil. Alright, I'm already at 11.5 pounds almost. I still got a ways to go. It'll be neat to see how much we pull out of this thing. Still going. 17. Still got liquid coming out of there. Yep. We're getting closer. There's all kinds of units up here. Exhaust fans. Well, it really needs to have some fresh air intakes. I can't wait to see how hot it is up here when the sun's out and it's hot out. But let's see, we're getting closer. 7 PSI left. Just about got double the charge in this thing. So this system holds 10 pounds, it's got 18 in it. And that's why you can't really charge these systems by your suction pressure. It's going to get you in trouble every time. You got to approach it like an ice machine, like a critically charged system. Get your line set figured out what your charge is, what it's supposed to be. And even if you tried to troubleshoot this thing, you'd have been lost in space. Recover the charge out, start from scratch, pull a good vacuum. Well, actually, recover the charge out, nitrogenize it, make sure you got no leaks, pressure test it. Pressure test, then pull a good vacuum on your system. Then you'll know that you got a tight system, you got a good vacuum, weigh your charge in. Now you got somewhere to start at to see what's happening with your unit. 2.5 PSI left, and I've already pulled out almost 20 pounds. That's double the refrigerant charge for this system. So this is what you're going to find out there working on mini splits, you guys. This happens. I got a video back in the day on a unit that held 3 pounds and I pulled 9 out of it. And I'm just giving you the best ways how to jump into this stuff. You take this approach, you can get way ahead of the game. It's time consuming, you just have to let your customer know. But this is the right way to jump into this stuff. If I wouldn't have recovered the charge out of this unit and then started looking at the indoor units and why things aren't working and whatnot, I'm lost in space. Absolutely lost in space. This is where you start, right here. Okay. Approach it like an ice machine. You know, when you work on an ice machine, what's the last thing you want to put on an ice machine is gauges. You don't want to gauge up on an ice machine. Why? Because they don't hold very much charge. When you charge up on an ice machine nowadays, the probes are great, or if you got the little Z manifolds, that's what you want to use on ice makers. But I would always, if I knew other people had been working on ice machines, I would always recover the charge, pressure test it, pull a vacuum, weigh the charge back in, the factory charge. And I'd have a baseline where to start. And you can throw so much crap out of the window when you know your charge is right. You just throw it all out of the window. You don't even have to look at all that other stuff. You know the charge is good. Now you can start looking at other things and other components that are wrong in your system. So we're coming down the mountain here. We got 21.5 pounds in a 10-pound system. That's where we're at. Okay, now I'm pressurizing it. Got her up to just over 200. Put one hose in. And I'm going to soap bubble everything, and then we'll set the deviation timer. You guys have seen I do the deviation timer. I don't hook the temperature probe up. I know you're supposed to have the probe hooked up. But Soap bubbles, I've soap bubbled all these connections, everything looks good. I'm 5 minutes into my pressure test and we haven't deviated at all. I was at 201.3 the whole time, so we'll keep this pressure test going. So by recovering the charge and weighing it out, doing your pressure test, and then pulling a proper vacuum and weighing in the proper charge, you've just taken out so much guesswork on your troubleshooting. And once we get the vacuum pulled and the proper charge in, then we can go check out the systems. We're still at 201.3, so we're looking good for leaks. I've got my clamps on my liquid lines here. We're going to get ready to pull a vacuum and get started. I'll show you. I got the cheap $11 clamps and then the super expensive fluke clamp. Those are the two cheapies, 59.8, and there's the fluke 59.7. So we're all right in the wheelhouse. Look at there. Yes, sir. All right, I'm gonna start my vacuum now. I'm feeling good enough about the leaks. If you ever work on Mitsubishi units, the class I went to, they want 600 PSI for 24 hours for a pressure test. I'm not kidding. Maybe Ralph will chime in. I don't know if they've changed that standard or not, but it's been 10 years since I went to the class. I went to the class for the city multis probably 10 years ago or more. Okay, now we got her on the vacuum pump. The fill zone. And we're doing the one hose Smurf boner through the low side. And let's see if we can get her down to below 500 microns. And then we'll weigh in the correct charge. It's 10.14 ounce. 10 pounds, 0.14. Okay, there's one room they want to keep super cold. And then these other rooms, and I got to find out which head is the master. This isn't a unit that has a branch box where you can have one system heat, one system cool. It's just a standard 3-head system. So if the master gets set for heat, like if this person working in here is hot and they set the master to heat, the other two units aren't going to cool if they want them to cool. So you have to gather the whole story for your system and how it's being used. So I got to find out which head is the master head. That master head is going to have to always be set on cool, and if the room they're working in gets a little chilly, they're just going to have to raise the set point of the thermostat up so it's not in cooling mode. But if the master gets set to heat, the other two units won't cool if they're set for cooling. Okay, so I'm trying to find out what unit's my master. I got the other two on cool, and I've set this unit to heat, 78 degrees heat. My other units were in cooling. And what will happen is if the master gets set to heat, and these are set to cool, they turn off. And I think that's the issue over here, is I think the people working in that middle room get cold, turn their stat to heat, then these two rooms don't cool anymore. And the issue is the back room with the 2-ton unit, and these are 1-tons. They want that room to stay as cold as possible, and I think that's their biggest problem. I think it was an overcharge and then understanding how the system works are the two biggest issues on this job today. All right, so we found all our problems. We're back to running the, this is the middle unit, which is the master unit. We got the set point turned up. This is a 1-ton unit that's running right now, and I'm not sure how good my clamp's clamping on there. And then this is the 2-ton unit. My liquid line temp. The liquid line temp, I think the air coming out was 48.8 degrees, 48.8, and the liquid lines are at 50, so that's pretty close. This I really don't care about too much. But that's my suction pressure, my evaporator temperature. But I think we're back in action now. The main problem was the master unit is the middle unit, and that room's cold. And when they're in there working, they're turning the heater on, and then that knocks out the other two units from cooling. And those other two units are the rooms they want the coldest. They're trying to get those rooms super cold and control the humidity in there. So I think we figured out our problem. 11 pounds overcharged. All right, you guys, like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and go check out drawer number 7. Drawer number 7 video will be up also.